The impossible signal. First contact goes wrong. The coffee in Dr. Elena Vasquez's mug had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. Her dark eyes were fixed on the computer screen showing wave patterns that shouldn't exist. The Deep Space Communication Array in Chile had been her home for 3 years, listening to the quiet whispers of the universe. Tonight, the universe was screaming. "This can't be right," she whispered, pushing her black hair away from her face. The signal was coming from outside the solar system, but it wasn't random noise from dying stars or cosmic radiation. It was structured, purposeful, and impossibly complex. More importantly, it was directed straight at Earth. Elena's fingers flew across the keyboard as she ran the signal through every translation program she had. The patterns were unlike anything in their databases, yet somehow familiar. Like a song played in a language she'd never heard but could almost understand. After 2 hours of work, the computer finally produced text that made her blood freeze. "Attention, primitive species of the third planet. Your chaotic existence has been deemed incompatible with galactic stability. Cleansing will commence in 72 Earth rotations. Prepare for orderly termination. This message is a courtesy. Resistance is futile and will only prolong suffering." Elena stared at the words, her hands shaking. She read them again, hoping they would change, hoping this was some elaborate prank or computer error. The signal was too strong, too sophisticated, too real. Someone was coming to destroy Earth, and they had given humanity exactly 3 days to prepare. She grabbed her phone and dialed a number she'd hoped never to use. Admiral Marcus Chen answered on the second ring, his voice sharp despite the late hour. "Admiral, this is Dr. Vasquez at the Deep Space Array. We have a situation." "How big a situation, Doctor?" Elena looked at the screen again, at the impossible signal that had traveled across the void to deliver Earth's death sentence. "The biggest, sir. Someone's coming to kill us all." 2 hours later, Elena found herself in a room she'd only seen in movies. The Pentagon's Crisis Center was alive with activity as military personnel and scientists worked frantically to understand the threat. Admiral Chen stood at the center of it all, his gray hair and stern face making him look like a man who'd seen too much war. "Tell them what you told me, Doctor," he said. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady despite her fear. "The signal is coming from approximately 12 light-years away, but it's not traveling at light speed. Whatever sent it is using technology we don't understand. Based on the signal strength and the fact that they knew to send it directly to Earth, they're already close." "How close?" asked General Patricia Williams, the Joint Chiefs' newest member. "If I had to guess, they're probably in our solar system right now." The room fell silent. Elena could hear the hum of computers and the distant sound of helicopters landing outside. Everyone was staring at her like she'd just announced the end of the world, which she realized she basically had. "What do we know about them?" Admiral Chen asked. "Not much. They call themselves the Dominion. From what I can translate, they seem to be some kind of galactic authority. They've been watching us for a while, and they've decided we're too dangerous to exist." "Dangerous?" General Williams laughed bitterly. "We can barely get a rocket to Mars without it exploding half the time." Elena shook her head. "I don't think they're afraid of our technology." The message used the word chaotic several times. "They seem to think we're unpredictable, and that makes us a threat to something they call galactic stability." Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as a communications officer rushed into the room. "Admiral, we have multiple contacts appearing near Jupiter. They just materialized out of nothing." The main screen flickered to life, showing a view from the Hubble Space Telescope. Elena's breath caught in her throat. 50 massive ships hung in space like dark angels, each one easily the size of Manhattan. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, all smooth curves and gleaming metal that seemed to bend light around it. "My God," General Williams whispered. "They're real." As they watched, The ships began moving in perfect formation toward Earth. Their movement was precise, coordinated, like a dance performed by machines. There was no waste, no deviation, no sign of the chaos that apparently made humans so dangerous. Try to contact them, Admiral Chen ordered. Maybe we can negotiate. Elena had already thought of that. Sir, I don't think they're interested in negotiation. The message was very clear. They see us as a problem to be solved, not people to be reasoned with. Try anyway. We have to try. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Earth's best linguists worked with Elena to craft a response, while military leaders around the world prepared for the impossible. How do you fight ships that can travel faster than light? How do you negotiate with beings who have already decided you don't deserve to exist? The response came faster than expected. Elena was still working on the translation when the alien voice filled the communications center. It was smooth, emotionless, like a computer reading a grocery list. I am Commander Zethkar of the Dominion Fleet. Your attempt at communication has been noted and dismissed. You are chaotic beings who spread disorder wherever you go. Your species has been observed for 200 of your years. In that time, you have fought 347 wars, destroyed 23% of your planet's ecosystem, and created weapons capable of sterilizing your entire world. Yet you also create art for no logical purpose, risk your lives for emotional attachments, and make decisions based on unpredictable impulses. This chaos cannot be allowed to spread beyond your world. Elena felt a chill as she listened. They weren't evil, these aliens. They were following what they saw as logic, eliminating a threat to galactic peace. The scariest part was that they weren't entirely wrong about humanity's chaotic nature. We can change, Admiral Chen said into the microphone. We can learn to be more orderly, more peaceful. Negative. Chaos is inherent to your species. It cannot be trained away. The Dominion has maintained peace across 12,000 worlds for 2 millennia by eliminating sources of disorder. Your termination will be swift and merciful. The transmission ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. Elena stared at the screen showing the approaching fleet, her mind racing. They had described humanity's chaos like it was a disease, something to be cured by elimination. But what if they were looking at it wrong? Admiral, she said slowly, what if our chaos isn't a weakness? What if it's exactly what we need to survive this? Marcus Chen looked at her with tired eyes. What do you mean, Doctor? Elena smiled for the first time since receiving the signal. They've spent 2,000 years creating perfect order. They eliminate chaos wherever they find it. But that means they've never had to deal with truly unpredictable opponents. They don't know how to fight chaos because they've never experienced it. You think we can outthink them. I think we can out-crazy them, Elena said. And sometimes, in a universe full of logical beings, being crazy is the sanest thing you can do. As the alien fleet drew closer to Earth, Elena Vasquez began to form a plan that would either save humanity or prove the Dominion right about human madness. Either way, she thought, it was going to be one hell of a fight. The Dominion's logic. Perfect order vis human chaos. The alien fleet hung in space like a collection of silver monuments, each ship perfectly aligned with its neighbors. From the International Space Station, astronaut Captain Lisa Park watched through the observation window as the vessels maintained their formation without the slightest deviation. Even their shadows fell in exact patterns across the hull of her station. They'd been sitting there for 6 hours, she reported to Mission Control. No movement, no change in formation. It's like they're waiting for something. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez was trying to understand exactly what they were waiting for. The Deep Space Array had received another transmission, this one longer and more detailed. As she worked through the translation, a picture began forming that made her stomach turn. Admiral Chen, you need to see this, she called across the bustling command center. Marcus Chen approached her workstation, his uniform wrinkled from 18 hours of crisis management. Dark circles under his eyes showed the strain of preparing Earth for an impossible battle. "What did you find, Doctor?" Elena pointed to her screen, where streams of translated text scrolled past. "They're not just here to destroy us. They're documenting us. This is like a scientific report on human behavior, and it's incredibly detailed." Chen leaned closer, reading over her shoulder. The text was clinical, cold, like a doctor's notes on a terminal patient. "Subject species exhibits extreme variability in behavior patterns," Elena read aloud. "Individual units make decisions contradicting survival instincts. Examples observed: sacrifice of resources for non-genetic offspring, creation of art objects with no practical function, formation of emotional bonds with other species." "They're studying us like lab rats," Chen muttered. "It gets worse. Look at this section." Elena scrolled down to a part highlighted in red. "Most concerning is the species' inability to maintain consistent social structures. Governmental systems change frequently, often through violent means. Cultural practices vary wildly between geographical regions. No predictable pattern of development observed." Chen straightened up, his jaw clenched. "They think we're broken because we're not all the same." "That's exactly what they think. But, Admiral, there's something else here. Something about their own society." Elena pulled up another section of the transmission. "They call themselves the Dominion, and they've been in power for over 2,000 years. In all that time, their society hasn't changed at all." Before Chen could respond, a new voice cut through the command center's noise. Engineer Sarah Kim had been working non-stop to analyze the alien ships, using every telescope and sensor Earth had available. "Admiral, I've got something on the alien vessels," Sarah called out, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. "These ships are incredible, but there's something strange about them." Sarah was young, barely 30, but she had a mind that could understand technology like others understood music. She'd been tracking the alien fleet's every movement, analyzing their energy signatures and hull designs. "What kind of strange?" Chen asked, walking over to Sarah's station. "They're perfect," Sarah said, pulling up holographic displays of the alien ships. "I mean literally perfect. Every angle is exactly calculated. Every energy reading is identical across all 50 ships. There's no variation at all." Elena joined them, her curiosity piqued. "What does that mean?" "Think about human ships," Sarah explained, gesturing to a display showing Earth's small fleet of military vessels. "No two are exactly alike. Even when we build them from the same plans, there are tiny differences. Materials vary slightly. Construction crews make small changes, wear patterns develop differently. But these alien ships, they're identical down to the molecular level. So they're good at manufacturing," Chen said. "That's not necessarily a weakness." Sarah shook her head. "It's not just manufacturing. Admiral, I've been tracking their flight patterns, their formation changes, even the way they orient themselves relative to the sun. Everything follows exact mathematical formulas. There's no adaptation, no improvisation. They're like a computer program made of metal and energy." Across the command center, Dr. James Wright was having his own revelations. As Earth's leading expert in alien linguistics, he'd been tasked with analyzing not just what the aliens said, but how they said it. What he discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. "Elena, you need to hear this," James called out. He was a tall, thin man with graying hair and the excited expression of someone who'd just solved a difficult puzzle. Elena and Chen moved to James's workstation, where audio files of alien transmissions played on repeat. "I've been analyzing their language patterns," James explained. "At first, I thought they were just very formal, very precise. But it's more than that. They literally cannot express certain concepts." "What do you mean?" Elena asked. James pulled up a comparative analysis on his screen. "Watch this. When they talk about their plans to destroy us, they use terms that translate to cleansing, organizing, and correcting disorder. But when I try to find words in their language for mercy, creativity, or surprise, there's nothing. Those concepts don't exist in their vocabulary. Chen felt a chill run down his spine. They can't understand mercy because they don't have a word for it. It's deeper than that, James continued. Language shapes thought. If they've never had words for creativity or spontaneity, they may literally be incapable of those behaviors. They've created a society so ordered that they've eliminated the possibility of thinking differently. Elena stared at the audio displays, watching the perfectly regular patterns of alien speech. James, can they learn new concepts? If we taught them our words, could they understand? I don't know, James admitted. But Elena, there's something else. In all their transmissions, I've never heard them use personal pronouns the way we do. They don't say I think or I believe. They say it is determined or logic indicates. It's like they don't see themselves as individuals. Sarah looked up from her displays. That would explain their ships. If they don't think as individuals, they wouldn't make individual choices about design or tactics. Which means, Elena said slowly, her mind racing, they might not know how to deal with individual choices. They're expecting us to respond as a unified group following logical patterns. Chen nodded grimly. But humans don't do anything as a unified group. We argue, we disagree, we make emotional decisions that contradict logic. Exactly, Elena said, excitement growing in her voice. They've spent 2,000 years eliminating chaos from their society. They've never had to fight an enemy that doesn't follow rules. As if summoned by their conversation, another alien transmission filled the command center. Commander Zethkar's voice was as emotionless as before, but Elena thought she detected something new underneath the calm words. People of Earth, your continued existence serves no purpose. The Dominion offers you a final opportunity to surrender peacefully. Submit to orderly termination, and your deaths will be swift. Continue your chaotic resistance, and the cleansing will be prolonged. Elena grabbed the microphone before Chen could stop her. Commander Zethkar, I have a question for you. There was a long pause before the alien responded. Questions are not relevant. Your termination is already decided. But humor me, Elena said, her voice steady. In your 2,000 years of galactic peace, have you ever encountered a species that chose to be chaotic? Not accidentally chaotic, but deliberately, creatively chaotic. Another pause, longer this time. When Zethkar spoke again, there was something different in his voice. Not emotion exactly, but something like confusion. Deliberate chaos is a contradiction. Chaos cannot be chosen because choice requires logic. Elena smiled. Commander, what if I told you that humans choose chaos every day? We write music that breaks rules. We paint pictures that serve no function. We fall in love with people who are wrong for us logically. We choose chaos because it makes us happy. Happiness is not logical, Zethkar replied. But his voice sounded less certain. No, it's not, Elena agreed. And that's what makes us dangerous to you, isn't it? You can't predict happiness. You can't calculate love. You can't organize creativity into neat categories. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the command center in silence. Elena looked around at her colleagues, seeing understanding dawn on their faces. They're not afraid of our weapons, she said quietly. They're afraid of our minds. They've built a perfect society by eliminating everything that makes life worth living. And we're about to remind them what they gave up. Admiral Chen straightened his shoulders, looking more determined than he had since the crisis began. Dr. Vasquez, I think it's time we showed them exactly how chaotic humans can be. Elena nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. The aliens had superior technology, vast numbers, and 2,000 years of military experience. But they had never faced an enemy that fought with imagination instead of logic, that saw rules as suggestions rather than laws. For the first time since receiving that first impossible signal, Elena believed they might actually have a chance. Not because humans were stronger or smarter than the Dominion, but because they were gloriously, magnificently, beautifully unpredictable. And sometimes, in a universe governed by logic and order, being unpredictable was the most powerful weapon of all.